Let's get started.
Sure.
Yeah. Hi everyone there and welcome to today's webinar on churn prediction for subscription-based companies. My name is Neeraj and I'll be your moderator. I'm the co-founder and I'm excited to be hosting this session today for you. Extremely pleased to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Prithvi Pothaganti. With over 6 years of industry experience in data science, Prithvi has helped a number of MNC companies. He founded Supervised Learning, through which Prithvi is today helping hundreds of his students transition their career in data science through his flagship program on end-to-end data science. He is also guiding data scientists advance their career, case study-driven NLP 100-hour course, which is the first of its kind in India.
Yes.
Prithvi also holds a number of research papers and a few dozen citations to his credit. He is also a founder of his dream project, The Positive India, which is appreciated by our Honorable PM, Mr. Narendra Modi, for spreading positivity in society. Today, he is going to share how data science can solve business problems with real-life case studies. Before I hand over to Prithvi, I have a few housekeeping items to cover about this presentation and the webinar. First, today's webinar will be available on demand after the live session and is accessible through the same link you are using now. We will also share attachments as applicable after the session. Next, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. If you have a question for our speaker, please feel free to send it through the chat option that is available at the bottom of the panel. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session. If we don't get to your question today, don't worry about it. We'll definitely take it up and we'll ensure that we respond to you. And last, we'd like to encourage you to share today's webinar through social networks. So without any further ado, I'd like to kick off the session today, and the stage is all yours, Prithvi.
Okay. Neeraj, first of all, thanks a lot for the introduction, generous introduction. And guys, warm welcome. Although it's 3 p.m. and people are full of stomach after, I hope, a good lunch, then we are sitting here. Fine. I really appreciate all of you guys' enthusiasm to join the first of its kind webinar, of course, by me. EdisonX has been doing since a long time. And okay, let me go and share my slides. I'll start the session. Just a moment, guys. Right. Feel free to raise hand or type in the chat if you have any questions as such. And I would love the session to be interactive. So you need not wait till the slide is over or till the session is over to raise the questions. You can stop me in the middle. So let's keep it more interactive because we have very diverse group here joining the sessions, mid-level manager to senior managers to very young data scientists. So let's make it very interactive. Okay, so just give me a moment, setting up this thing. Okay, right. Okay, I'm set. So the topic, as you have known, customer churn prediction in the context of subscription-based streaming services. Of course, so churn analysis is the major part of the thing we'll cover today. But the use case we have picked up is one use case which where we took up an entertainment industry and especially a subscription-based music industry, and we're going to analyze their data. Of course, I'll be picking up examples from telecom as well as some other popular use cases. So guys, my question to you, I always prefer to start with a question. So what is churn? How many of you know what is a churn? Have you come across this concept of churn? So for to give you a clue, I've just given an image. The best I can find it on internet. Okay, some answers coming up. Switching over, okay. Switching over from where to where? Right, right. Okay, so everyone are pretty clear about the churn, like moving from one company to another company or shifting your loyalties basically. So it can be any of your services. So 90s, 80s, people were using products which they purchased one time and they're just using it since then, like Microsoft OS. But these days, every of your products or services have become a service, and people are moving on to subscription-based services. I even see air conditions or furniture in the offices being rented on monthly basis. So nobody is investing on buying property or buying assets. They just want to subscribe, pay monthly as long as they want to use. So the world is more moving into a service-based context. And in such context, so as a business, if you're running a business, losing customers can be like losing a lot of money. So today we'll be discussing about how to identify churn, especially in the point of data. And again, my next question goes to, what are the industries affected by this churn? Can you give a few examples? I would definitely love the company names from you. Which company might need this churn prediction? Maybe you're owner of a company, you want to pitch to some companies. Which company will you go and pitch first of all? Okay, answers pouring in. Wow. Direct hit. Okay, people again started with A. Okay, Geo. Wow. Flipkart. Nice. Okay, Amazon, Flipkart. How come Flipkart is a service? Which service is Flipkart offering? Hey Sahil, where are you from? I think you are from Southeast area. Today we are discussing about KK box data itself. I think you have practiced the data set maybe. Zomato. Okay, Sahil is from Seattle. Okay. Okay, I got you. Right, we are gonna look at the insights from KK box data today. Okay, Flipkart Plus. Amanjit is saying Flipkart Plus. Okay, but nobody is paying for Flipkart Plus as of now, as I know. Okay, so some people answered it as Geo. Okay, but I would say Geo has made a lot of churn prediction models sold in the industry. Especially, it has made the churn prediction relevant in the telecom industry, because long before Geo came, everyone were happy with their own customers. They're like ruling the market and roasting us with a lot of prices. When Geo was introduced in 2016, a fierce battle of prices started taking place in 2017, because we all know it, right? The companies started offering a lot of data for free. The networks were clogged, and the services were disrupted. Geo was ruling the market. People were churning from Airtel or Idea or Vodafone to Geo. So suddenly in the year 2017, all these companies, especially the Airtel, Idea, Vodafone, they just wanted to do churn models. I mean, which customer is more likely to churn or which is not? And in 2018, I mean, the telecom industry after the Geo has come, it has been always ripples. So Idea and Vodafone got merged in 2018. Some of the players just went bankrupt in the market. So a lot of consolidation has been happening, and now the price rises has started. So people are moving like crazily from one network to the other network. So telecom industry is one of the first industry I can think of if you have to talk about churn. No one has mentioned any banking industry. It's very relevant in the banking industry because see, it's direct money. So though I know every one of you maintain at least 2-3 bank accounts, but have you observed in last 5 years or 10 years, you started off with one bank and yes, you just moved on to the other bank. You don't close the first bank account, but you just shift all the operations to the main bank, which is offering you a lot of discounts. Or it happens with credit cards as well. And the next most prominent industry which we want to talk about is entertainment industry. Of course, there are different names like Netflix, different names for the industry, but predominantly I'm talking about video streaming and audio streaming especially. These are some of the prominent names in India. Of course, this is relevant across the globe. And for that matter, churn prediction is a problem for any subscription-based services company. Any subscription-based services company. It can be either for B2B as well. For example, you take companies like Zoho. Zoho ships a lot of project management tools or office kind of tools, which are again service-based, predominantly to business. For them also, churn is a very relevant problem. For example, it might be relevant to the Teach Edison as well, because they are into B2B market, shipping organizational products, especially for educational academies. So for them, it is very relevant as well. But it works in a different way for B2B industry. In the B2B industry, you require a lot of human analysis. And for the human analysis, these models will help a lot. Whereas in the industries like Jio or Airtel, you can directly pinpoint to which customers are going for churn. And having discussed all these things, I just wanted to tell you what's at stake. So why is this problem so important? So, this is common sense, right? So you have subscribed for Amazon Prime for 1 year, and after 1 year, you're leaving. So what is the loss for Amazon? It's not just 1 year, next year subscription, but it's a lifetime value. So you may not come back for next 2-3 years. So had you been there on Amazon Prime, you would have been, the Amazon might have got another 3K bucks or 4K bucks from you. So customer lifetime value is a business metric, especially most popular with the business guys. These are when a customer comes to your company and starts buying from you, each company will assign a lifetime value to it. Of course, predicting lifetime value, assigning a lifetime value to a customer, it's another big topic, which we won't go into now. But for now, I have taken a data from Lund University report. They said that $1,000 is an lifetime value of a customer. I mean, if you are losing one customer, you are losing $1,000. That's actually huge. Taking, for example, you are holding up 1 million customer and 10% is a churn rate every year. Same is in the Indian context, because all this, if you have noticed, all these industries, banking or telecom or entertainment industry, they operate at a very, very low margins. So every customer matters. So these are the numbers in front of you. Some of my students can relate to this because I frequently use this. Of course, today's context is different. What is the context of advanced analytics here? So people, when they talk about churn prediction model or stock forecasting or electricity forecasting, they think that it is a 21st century invention. No, maybe it was 21st century invention. Definitely it was not invented in 2015, or definitely not in 2011 when Harvard Business Review said data science is sexiest field, something like that. Definitely not. So churn prediction is an age-old problem. People have solved it in many different ways. This is a report especially taken from McKinsey and Company, which analyzed telecom companies' data. And they have not specified which company, but they analyzed this telecom companies' data from India. And this is a graph which is showing, of course, you don't have points on this graph, but each point on this graph points to a customer. So the insight I want to drive here is the yellow line, which is a prominent line, which is passing in the middle of the curve with the graph, is actually a logistic regression curve, which is nothing but also called as a statistical model or a basic math field or a prediction field, which existed since 1950s. And the contours or the boundaries you see over here are nothing but the boundaries which are drawn by a machine learning model, a recent invention, not invention, a recent application of some latest technology on huge scale of data. So the difference here is like the logistic model says that whatever the if the customer falls above this particular yellow or green line, classic regression analysis, then he has higher chance of churn. That's what regression model says. And this isobars says that if you are falling at a place where the lines are very close, then you have higher chance of churn. And if you are falling at a place where lines are very spacious, then you have very less chance of churn. You need not interpret all these things, but the only point here is that logistic regression or the classic regression analysis was simple, straightforward. Upar jao, then it's churn. Niche jao is not churn. As simple as it. You go to a CFO who's actually chatting with someone and give you 2 seconds time, he will understand it. But if you have to explain this isobars kind of graph to your CFO, who is not a technical person, then it takes time for you. Like, sir, this is this, this is this, this is this. He has to painfully keep his mobile away and put all your attention here. So machine learning is highly difficult to interpret. But what is the advantage? You can see the advantage right on the screen. You are pinpointing to the customers. The isobars have pinpointed to the customers where churn is there. So this classical regression analysis gives you an accuracy of 60%, whereas the machine learning gives you prediction models of 90% accuracy. So the conclusion, the story from here is like advanced analytics have improved your accuracy a lot, but at the cost of interpretability. So that's the base for us today. And any questions so far? You able to capture my voice? Any issues with anything else? If you're clear to hear, we'll proceed next. Okay, good. Let's take it forward. So having defined the problem and business statement, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the business analysis. Let's look into the data part of it. And this is the problem statement directly taken from Kaggle, though I have worked on churn models for different companies. This is a publicly available data set, so I can go ahead and give the insights easily without any restrictions. As well as I'll tell you, this is one of very prominent data sets on Kaggle. The size of the data sets is just 30 GB. It won't sit on your RAM. You have to take a server and process on it. So it's huge. It's a very good application. There's a lot of learning. We'll discuss. So read it, the problem statement. So you can assume KK boxes like a Savan or let's say Ghana of India. KK boxes for South Asian countries. I think Sahil has solved this problem. So this again, they are into entertainment industry. They have the same problem of customers churning, and they have especially very high rates of churn, and they just wanted to get rid of churn or reduce the churn. So if you're looking at a manager's perspective, again, milestones is the most common word. So I've pointed out a few milestones in any data science problem. It goes like this. You start with understanding of data, go for exploratory data analysis, then do basic feature engineering, modeling, advanced feature engineering, advanced modeling, shipping the model. Don't worry, I'll explain each of it. This is the flow of the next 30 minutes, or let's say next 25 minutes we'll spend on this itself, right? So the highlighted part, understanding data, we'll look at it. So often, maybe most of you have experienced one or two use cases of data set. If you are a data scientist, you must be working on data sets like Titanic or housing price, where everything sits in one data frame, or let's say everything sits in one data table. But when you go to real life data, it sits across multiple tables, right? So here our data is sitting across 3 tables. One is members.csv, The other is transactions. Of course, they have given it CSV format. And the third one is user logs. And each of them have columns like a serial number or specific to each user, the city from which the user has them, the date of birth, gender, and how did he register for us, and when did he register, the starting time. And the transaction database, of course, the members database is demographic data. Yes, it's the primary key. It's the primary key. So the transaction database consists of what all transaction each user has made, payment method, payment plan, payment price, amount paid, did he set it on auto renew mode, transaction date. Someone is on mute, not mute. Membership expiry date and is cancel. Okay, it's myself, I guess. Okay, no problem. Let's continue. So user log data, MS number, again the common data, common key. You have date, number 25, number 50, number 75, number 985. These things I'll explain in a bit. Why? Okay. So this is the first 5 rows of a member table. I'm just showing you how the data frame looks like.
What I'm doing is I'm just collating all the questions. Maybe last 5-10 minutes we'll answer one by one.
Yes, no problem. Yeah, no problem, Neeraj. And if there is any urgent kind of thing, just pass it out.
Yeah, there is a recent question that says MS number is the primary key.
Yeah, I responded to it. Yeah, MS number is the primary key. Just give me a moment. I'm stopping the screen share. Just give me a moment. Okay. Right. Hope you can see the members table. So this is how first 5 rows look like in a members table. They have given a unique ID for a customer, which is completely not understandable. Even the city names are masked. They didn't give the names. They just give the tags. Age is given in terms of years, and the gender, it's either NAN, male, female, and registered via, I mean, through which channel they registered to our website, and registered time, it's given in the form of a, say this, not even it's a string, I should say. You have to format it, and it's DD, YYY, MM, and DD format. That's how my members data frame look like. And this is how my transactions data frame look like. So payment method ID, again, they didn't specify what is the method. It's just a masked data. And how much payment plan they have given to me. And price also they have to me, 129. It's not clear whether it's dollars or not. I don't think it's dollars. Actual amount paid. Actually, there's a difference component also. List price as well as amount paid. The difference actually gives the discounts offered to a few customers. And did the guy kept auto renew mode on while he's paying, transaction date, and when is the membership expiry date, and is cancel. So this is the first row of user logs. It looks like this. Just again, really sorry guys, I have to stop the screen share. Right, I'm back. Okay. Let's look at the user logs data. So user logs data is nothing but each user on each day, how many songs he has listened to 25% time, 50% of time, 74% of time. I hope you understand what we mean by 25, 50. Suppose a song is for 10 minutes and you listen it only for less than 2.5 minutes, then it will be counted as number underscore 25. You listen it for less than so from 2.5 to 5 minutes, it will be counted in number underscore 50. Similar fashion, 75, 95, 98, and 100% song. So why is this log very important for me is like, this helps me understand the behavior of a customer. So when do you skip a song? Even before you listen to 1/4 of the song? When you don't like it, obviously. And so for me, number underscore 25 on each day is an indicator of customer being unhappy, while number underscore is an indicator for me, customer being happy, because if he's happy, he listens to songs completely. Of course, we'll discuss more about customer behavior in terms of user logs, but that is the relevance. And total seconds, how much time he was there on the platform listening the songs. And I also gave you a few counts here. The number of customers, if you can see, the number is around 6 million customers data has been given to us. So just imagine how huge it is. 6 million customers on an average every day logging a row like this. So every day you'll have 6 million rows, and the data has been captured for more than 10 years. So 6 million into 365 days into 10. That should be the size of my log data, which is actually very huge. And that's why generally the data with numbers, only numbers, won't increase by 1 GB or 2 GB. But this data is especially huge because we have a huge user log data. So spread across 21 cities and registered via 18 users. I hope you got a picture of, a basic picture of what data has been at our hands. So what are some of the lessons we learned after looking at the data? So first thing, data is huge. This is a big lesson for everyone. Sampling will be required. You cannot process 30 GB data sitting on any server as well. It's not a suggested idea to work on the huge data. Though you can buy a RAM of, let's say, 500 GB RAM, even you can buy, your company can afford it, but it's not a wise idea to work on a huge data like that. It's always preferred to do a sampling and work on the sample so that the process can be iterated very fast, because data science POC is always about research. So how fast you iterate, that fast you'll build a solution. And it's not always jumping on the data, opening your Python kernel or loading it on Tableau, do visualizations. We need to have analytical thought process over data, which I call it as brainstorming, to understand which column will impact churn. How will my 25% data impact churn? How will my 98% songs listened impact churn? And then you have to map each questions to your target variable. So here are a few of my questions. When I saw the data, these are the questions I asked myself. So is this, you can read it for yourself. Of course, there are 3 data frames for us. One is demographics. So I just wanted to see, okay, is it the same across the city, the churn rate? The gender, is it dependent on the gender? Are males more loyal or females more loyal to KK box? Is date of birth, is the age a dependency factor? Like old people, they don't prefer to move to other companies very easily compared to youngsters. So these are the hypotheses I have generated myself. We have to go and verify them. And then we have to talk about business. So the transactions database gives a lot about our business. So how much business are we making? How much cancellations? How many users? What's the percentage of churn? And then from the user log data, we can get songs listening patterns. So all these kind of questions can be answered through any of the tools like R and Python, or let's say you can put it on Tableau and do some mapping as well and get the visualizations. And this kind of visualizations are called exploratory data analysis, which is very, very crucial for your project. And before going to exploratory data analysis, first of all, we have to understand what is a churn is in the context of KK-box. So for Geo, sending an MNP SMS and then going to Airtel is a churn. But what is a churn in our context in terms of data? So if you, by now, you must have understood there is a timeline associated. This is a person, for a single person. The red point is the day he started. For first 30 days, he listened. And his renewal date was here, the second red point, but he didn't renew it. We gave an extension date, MX date 1. Then he renewed it and he started listening. And if you see, there was a downtrend in the last 15 days and he disappeared someday. After 2 months of subscribing, he disappeared from our crowd. So this is how a churn looks like. You have to map this in your brain when you do a project. And when we go to exploratory data analysis, of course, the most important part in exploratory data analysis is like, these are like first brownie points you get from your client. Suppose you are a consulting company, like Geo cannot handle its project on its own. And let's say it consults with a company called Fractal Analytics or Mu Sigma, which are prominent consulting companies. When client gives you data, the first brownie points you get from the client is like, you go do exploratory analysis and tell him these are the insights. And second thing, why this works is, I have given 2 statements in front of you. Let's say you are the decision maker in Geo and you are deciding around three consulting companies came to you and said, we'll do churn project for you. Whom will you give? Will you like to give to a guy who says statement 1 or statement 2? This is some very important question. So if you are owner of the data and if you need a churn project, let's say you are the client yourself and I'm the consulting company, I come and say you statement 1 and there is another guy who says statement 2. Which one will you prefer being client? So do you think the statement 1 and statement 2 are the same? I hear no answers. No one here. Guys, respond. I'll give it a fluke at least.
I think good number of people choosing the statement 2.
Okay, statement 2. Why? So what is the reason, guys? So I'll tell you this. I'll tell you the simple reason. I have been running the telecom. Of course, if a guy is a decision maker in Geo, he must be in the telecom business since 20 years, right? He knows, he has a lot of domain knowledge. And once fine day you go with a statistics degree from ISI and say him, like, I'll tell you who are the churn customers are, or let's say you take up some certificate from a premier institute saying you have done a data science course for 6 months and you tell him, I'll tell you customers will churn. He doesn't believe more in math and all. For him, business makes more sense. His business knowledge makes more sense. So data science projects are always tools which will help the businesses take decisions. Don't go to business and tell them, I will do it for you. No, tell them that you'll help them to do it. So exploratory data, so just imagine you ship him a dashboard wherein he can say last 30 days what happened, last 15 days what happened, a beautiful dashboard with some numbers changing, the data being streamed, and he feels lovely. He pays for it. To understand his data, he pays for it. So this is one of the most successful aspects in data science. And I'll show you some of the visualizations which can be done. So registered source-wise distribution. So I'm just trying to understand how my registered source, especially from how my customers have come up. So this last 1 year data and data since inception. I have 2 points here. You can say in the last 1 year, the cities 7 and 9 has a major impact. And if you take the historical data, 3, especially 4 has highest impact, right? So one of the takeaway here, important takeaway here, like what Rahul Gandhi has done. So Amethi is a constituency he has contested since Congress has won 10 times in last 12 elections. But still he went and participated in some other constituency from Kerala. And we can see the results. I think he's still lagging behind. The only point is I don't support Rahul Gandhi, or I don't want to discuss about political things here, but it's always a good idea to understand that last 1 year trend is different from the historical trend. It always happens in the data. Your data is always changing. One more aspect I wanted to cover is registration methods versus churn. Especially I don't know why people are churning, but I want to understand across the methods, is there any variation in the churn? I can see that people who came from method 4 and method 3 has very high churn rate, 14%, 22%. By the way, guys, my entire data set average churn is like 4%. See, exploratory data analysis gives me all these aspects. So how do you do it? Just you have to group by methods, count how many churn are there, just calculate the percentage. Similar insights has been observed from payment methods as well. So payment method 41 has very high amount of loyalty, whereas payment method 38 has very low amount of loyalty. I mean, 38 has high churn rate. So these are some of the quick insights from exploratory data analysis. And let me tell you guys, 1 week you work on exploratory data analysis and give this information to your client, or let's say if you're a product company, or give it to your manager, he'll have the best day of the year, I'm telling you. Because insights from the data make much more sense than actual shipping the models. Models may work, may not work, but insights are always helpful. That's my exploratory data analysis. And then comes feature engineering. So if you guys are new to what is a feature engineering and all, you can assume that features are nothing but the columns in your database. And why these are very important is that any regression or classification model, you will take help of the columns, understand the relationship between each column and your final column, which is actually a churn or not. So the whole goal of identifying basic feature engineering is, for me, I identified some of the key factors where people churned and not churned are distinguished very clearly. I mean, I can take a line and throw it and say, okay, your average is around 30, you are not churning. If your average is around, your age is around 27.5, you have high risk. Registered by 7, oh, you guys stay very loyal. You registered by a 9, you guys gonna churn. So for me, as a data scientist, for me, it doesn't make sense. Of course, when you ship this to a business guy, he knows what 7 is, what 9 is. Okay, 7 is a city like Hyderabad. 9 is a very rural area, wherein in the rural area, people have put up kiosks, and maybe 9 is a registration method via kiosks, and 7 is a registration method via Facebook, something like that. So your actual data doesn't give you direct impact. I mean, the cause is not given. Only the correlation is given to you. The cause has to be determined by your business analyst. So these are some of features we extracted from each database, around 30 of them total. And then we go ahead with modeling. Okay, as I say, if you see this slide, there is always iterative process. I started with basic feature engineering, modeling, then advanced feature engineering, again advanced modeling. So this is a loop basically. You do feature engineering, do modeling, come back again to feature engineering, come back to modeling, likewise. So we have got some results here. So I'm not gonna define each of every metric, accuracy, log loss error, F1 score. I can tell you only one thing: accuracy, it should be high. Log loss error is should be low. F1 score, again, it should be high. Right? You can refer material to understand what the accuracy is. Nothing but, you know, right? 100%, 100 people are churning. How much accurate I am while churning? I mean, predicting. So my model says that 95 are churning, whereas actually 100 are churning. So you are 95% accurate. One important factor I wanted to tell you is, with the basic features when we went, we are not accurate across all the metrics. One metric is good, one metric is bad. One metric is good, one metric is bad. It was always a jugglery for us. So what was the decision made then was, we'll go and understand more of the customer behavior, so that our models, any model 1, 2, 3, are pretty consistent across all the metrics. One more lesson here is, like, you should not be dependent on one metric. So we go for advanced feature engineering. So where we research on the customer's behavior. So now here actual essence starts. Right? How many of you guys are like very, very prominent listeners of music? I mean, who listen more than 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day? And how many of you use streaming apps, pay money and buy the streaming app? Let's say Savan, Ghana. You can raise the hands also. YouTube music. Use Ghana daily. Okay. Paid or unpaid? I use free one. Guys, okay, good. India is a price sensitive market. I know that. Wink for free. Yeah. Amazon. Okay, Amazon Prime Music. Good. I mean, you are paying. Chitna is paying. Where is Amazon Prime? Paid courses. Ghana. Nice. Okay, guys. One more quick update. This session will close by around 4:15 or such. I'll be closing by 4:05, 20 minutes from now. Okay. So so we started researching about how the customers behave on, especially music apps. So we found two types of users mainly: exploratory users versus conservative users. Conservative users, this is a name given by me, don't curse me. The only intention is like exploratory churn. Exploratory guys are like, they always look out for new albums. Okay, they want new albums coming every week. They listen to new albums, they move on, next week new is the big thing for them. Whereas these conservative guys, these guys keep a separate list of playlists, and 90% of the time, let's say 70% of the time, they stick to their own playlists, and they don't, okay, the newness is only 20% to 30% of the time for them. How many of you guys can relate to this kind of behavior? And who are exploratory and who are conservative here? Of course, conservative in the context of music. Anyone? Nice. Okay. Conservative. Wow. I know this. So even I'm a conservative user. I stick to my playlist. Okay. So as a conservative user, guys, when do you churn? You don't churn when there is no music on, no new music. I mean, Savan doesn't upload new music. I don't churn. I don't mind. But Savan takes away download button for one day and says a technical snag. I'll be very irritated. Okay. For me, conservative users, the experience matters a lot. UI, the speed, the fast, the quality of music. Of course, range also matters for us, but UI matters for us. But for the exploratory guys, a recent song from Tamil Nadu, Chapati song, has come. Of course, it's not an album, but if that album is not there on, let's say it's an album and it's not there on your Savan or Ghana, then you'll be really irritated. You have to shift to YouTube to get that song and get back to your own playlist. So this exploratory guys go out when there is no new content. And these exploratory guys, these guys, very characteristic usage is like 25% played songs are always very, very high. That means they play song for 25%. If they don't like, they just skip it. Conservative users are like very, very good guys. They always listen song 100% and then they move to next song. Very organized people. So this is a kind of clusters we observe. And then we have another cluster who are called leisure users and regular users. Especially those who are in very strenuous jobs kind of thing, or let's say some people just use the music only when they go on trips. Only when they go on trips. Other times they don't. Let's say some people have a habit of using YouTube when they are near the laptop, and when they're traveling in their car, they open their app and music apps. So for that kind of people, leisure users will churn when he finds he's not getting time anymore. So at the end of the day, when you're paying again for the subscription, you say, last 2 months, I have not made a trip. Okay, let's see if I make a trip, I'll buy it again. And to get that kind of guys, we'll just find absence of logins, and then we'll find out that kind of leisure users are gonna churn. And the next thing is user liking the content. Again, user liking content doesn't matter to conservative users. These are like 100% guys. They listen to songs. Okay, there's no much analysis for conservative guys. The problem is for exploratory guys. These guys, they play a song multiple times, and we get unique count, and we get a total time played also. By doing some simple math, I can figure out how much percentage of time they are skipping the songs. If you're skipping the songs frequently in a day and frequently in a month, and last 6 months skipping ratio and this month skipping ratio is not at all matching, that's a red flag for me. I'm gonna churn. And price sensitive markets like discounting. There's a good story about discounting, and that's coming next. And affordability also. Some people who can afford, they just keep the rich guys, they keep auto renew on through their credit card and all. And some people who are like always counting money, they just turn off auto renew, and then when the streaming stops, you go think pay or not. That's also an indicator for me. So this kind of analysis of customer behavior is very important. So after we did this, we did some temporal feature engineering. Especially we were looking at the time period concept. Like last month, what is his average? Last month, what is his max, mean? Well, last month, what is his variance? Last 2 weeks, last week. And always compare. So I cannot tell anything from last week, but if I compare last week with last month, I can tell. And last 2 weeks with last 2 months, I can very clearly tell how many red flags are there. And the metrics I'm comparing are unique songs, 100% songs, 75% songs, 50% songs. So this type of analysis and implementing it on your data takes a lot of time to code and get things from scratch, but it's really worth it. If you remember, we started with 30 features at basic feature engineering, but when we came to advanced feature engineering, especially after going through the psychology of users, we came up to 93 features. And previous users. So now we have 103 features, and most of them very relevant. And guys, tell me that 499, 999 company, anyone can recognize that company? 499, 999. I think people are very fast. Bata or Amazon? Sorry, no Bata for today. It's Ye. It starts with Ye. Yeah, it's Amazon, guys. So Amazon, if you remember, I think they started the Prime. Okay, Airtel has 499 plan. I never took 999 plan on Airtel. I'm shit scared to spend more money on Airtel. The day I spend 999, he stops ignoring me. Okay, so the context is of Amazon Prime subscription. They started with a roll-off offer of 499, but the next year the price was 999 per year. And the reason I'm discussing here is like in the KK box data, we have observed that immediately after the discount was rolled back, the churn rate was as far as 80%. And after discount enrolled, some people, the 20% people made some transactions. And in that 20%, again 60% churned. and it increased, go on increasing, go on increasing. Of course, the churn percentage came down, but you can see the discount effect. So this initial part of area especially was especially after the discount was taken back. And remember guys, for everyone, for every user, this time is different. I mean, Amazon started subscribing on, let's say, January 1st, 2018. If you're buying on January 1st, then your subscription ends on January 1st, 2019. Your analysis ends, your analysis starts there. I mean, you will be churning in January only. But let's say some guy like Prithvi who's buying it in October 2018. When will I churn? I'll churn in October 2019, right? So by then the January user has already churned. So especially the discount strategies, discount withdrawal, this is a very pain point in terms of analysis perspective. The data scientist has to go understand which user subscribed when and when he's churning. It took me over a day to get this graph, but it was one of the beautiful insight, because now I know if the discount is being withdrawn, there's very high chances of churn. And after this is done, we go for advanced modeling, wherein we use all the 103 features. You go for algorithms like random forest, even XGBoost as well. You do it. I'm not going to discuss how you train the model and all, but I'm going to discuss about the need of the advanced modeling and the common hiccups you face. And it's a classic problem of class imbalance, right? How many of you know class imbalance? I think most of you know the class imbalance problem. Yes, good, good. Okay, I'll tell you, you can very easily remember this class imbalance if you can understand the plight of IIT students and IIM students, especially guys. So especially these IIT guys, IIT classrooms and IIM classrooms have very heavy imbalance. Men are around 90% and the let's say guys, boys are 90%, the girls are 10%, that's it. And I need not explain the problems. And for example, someday 3 girls are absent, you'll clearly understand the difference. And if 3 guys are absent, no one cares about it. So that is the problem of bias actually in data science also. So especially a class which has a high number and a class which has low number, if you have put both of them aside, it might be easy, it might be difficult to distinguish some of the patterns, right? For example, I gave a classic example here. A person's A speaks lie for 60% of the times, and let's say a guy B speaks only 5% lie for 5% of the times. And a human brain which has evolved for 30 years and understanding the lies, which one will you detect easily? You'll detect A easily. You cannot detect B because he speaks lies only for 5% of the times. 95% of the time is truthful, right? The same problem occurs in the churn example also, because at a given point of time, 95% of my customers are going to stay back. Only the 5% are going to lose their mind and they don't subscribe. And it's the headache of the data scientist. So how can you do it? There are some techniques like upsampling and downsampling. I'm not going to discuss them because they're more theory oriented. Just understand that we'll be balancing the data set. And the problem with streaming data, as I told with the example of Rahul Gandhi's data, this week data is not the same as next week data. Things are evolving always, change is always changing, everything is changing. So churn models results this month, you start the project, and by the end of the project, at the end of 3 months, you'll have a new data, your problem will be different. And choosing the right metric. I mean, what metric is important? We'll discuss this a bit later. So I'll be closing it in 10 more minutes. That's it. And we'll be open for questions. The solutions for hiccups. All these hiccups can be solved by your problems like hidden variables and a combination of them. What were the hidden variables? We already discussed about them. The discounting strategy. No one gave me a column whether the discount is withdrawn or not.
Prithvi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I think we have a hard stop at 4:15. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We can plan accordingly.
Sure. No problem. And micro segments of the customers, as I said, conservative users, leisure users, these are the micro segments. This was the third statement. A library of 50 offers customized to micro segments offered with a rapid trail runs over 18 months reduced the churn by 15%. This is for a popular telecom company in India and which was analyzed by McKinsey. So what they did was they made a lot of micro segments and they had a batch of offers, discounting offers, and they iterated like crazy. Like, give this offer, no, customer is not coming back, give another offer, likewise. And as I always say, problems like this, housing price prediction or churn prediction, they're always predictive in nature. When I say predictive in nature, what it will tell you, at max, it will tell you which customer will have likelihood of churn. Okay, but what we need is like a prescriptive in nature analytics. Of course, this comes with a data guy sitting with the business guy. Prescriptive is like how to prevent this churn. Of course, that has nothing to do with a data scientist, but a data scientist should be able to help the business guy figure out what to do. And the prescriptive part, you can read it for yourself. The goal is always on maximizing profits rather than reducing the churn. If you remember, Jio has extended their free, they started with the first 3 months, they gave for 6 months, they extended for a year. So I think people got a free usage for more than 6 months to 9 months. Whereas you take Amazon, they started with $4.99 and they never budged. They sat on $9.99. Even if a lot of guys churned, no, they sat on $9.99. But instead, they focused on giving more value by increasing content on Prime Video. They started their own streaming music service, something like that. So every company has a different strategy of churn. Of course, the goal is like if it's maximizing, Jio has a goal of maximizing users. Amazon has a goal of maximizing profits. So I'm opening to the questions. I think I'm done with the slides part.
Yeah, I'll just read some of the questions that kind of came up.
Yeah.
First question is how machine learning models are different from statistical models.
Okay, so machine learning models are more complex in nature. They can wade through huge data. They can identify more complex patterns. Statistical models, they can't handle huge data and they can't handle complex patterns. That's so of course both are mathematical models. Statistics obtained from more of a statistical perspective. Machine learning models more of originated from linear algebra and calculus perspective. That's it. I hope I answered the question.
The next one is more like a comment.
Right.
Data science is similar to palm reader. I think it's left to everybody's imagination. The other one, how data can be believed because it changes frequently. I mean, I think he's talking about the trends that get changed. Yeah, maybe.
See, don't believe in the data. That's it. I would say one thing. See, if you, especially in the context of churn, especially in the context of KK box, I observed that the data changed every 2 months. If you visualize in a time series way, the churn percentages changed. The distribution of people has changed. So your model or your pipeline of the algorithm is always constant. But whenever the data changes, you pump it again and see the new results. Just that your pipeline has to be robust enough to handle the diversities in the data. Don't make it too overfit to some of the trends. You make it generic, then it can handle any uncertainties.
Yeah, I think the next one is what kind of sampling strategy would you use for the data set to have a good representative of your population. I think he's referring to 30
Right.
being data of
Yes.
large size. Can I
Right.
sample it and still make a very good analysis that is close to the actual one? Maybe the server limitations would have actually,
Right. Sahil, that's a good question. Like there are at least 10 to 20 techniques, sampling techniques. First thing is like when you have so many columns across so many data frames, maintaining a population and sample very close is like very difficult challenge. That sampling itself takes a lot of time. But you should what guidelines you should follow is like whatever the variables are more relevant to your churn, like your city name or payment methods, which I have found out. Make sure that those demographics or those distributions are followed in your sample. Just make sure that the 10 or 15 columns distributions are matching close. Then you'll be good enough. Again, how much sample size, 1 by 10th or 1 by 100th, depends upon your, again, machine learning models you are using, the RAM you have. I will tell you, I worked on 1 GB of data. They have given 30 GB of data. I took 1 GB of data for one sample and 4 GB of data for sample 2. And most of the times it actually converged. Yes.
Okay. Here is Sachin asking an example of statistical model and learning.
Okay. Statistical model. So statistical model example is like a linear regression or a logistic regression. Both are statistical models. Machine learning models, you can take random forest, SVM, XGBoost. All these are machine neural networks. All these are machine learning models. Okay, Sahil, class imbalance. Again, once you take the, so don't deal the classic class imbalance problem while you are solving your sampling strategy itself, in the earlier sampling strategy itself. Take the sample to 1 GB data or your 4 GB data, which represents your population. Do stratified sampling. 4% is the churn in 30 GB. Make sure 4% is the churn in your 1 GB data. After you get to the 1 GB data, then in the machine learning model, again, you have to do upsampling or downsampling. That's a different story again. So 2 folds you have to do. Yes. Neeraj, you can go according to your flow.
Yeah, I think there was another question that talks about, you mentioning using 30 GB of data and analyzing it.
Right. Hadoop. Yes.
Machine learning, what is that you recommend, or what is that you mentioned about? Is it R or Python? Was this question? It's a question from.
Yes. Okay. So I can see the question. So the question is talking about whether I can ingest into Hadoop and do machine learning from R or Python. I'll tell you, I'm not quite sure of R integrations with Hadoop, but I can tell about Python integrations with Hadoop. There's one fantastic tool called PySpark, which has machine learning algorithms as well. But the only problem with PySpark is the data wrangling. The data wrangling part is like very complex. PySpark doesn't give you a lot of variations. Let's small example is I couldn't have done the discount strategy with PySpark because it's still limited. Pandas is still very diverse and it allows me a lot of hands to do data manipulation like anything. You can still do if it is a basic to intermediate kind of data, but for eternal complex data, then doing it on Hadoop is not a good idea. Once you have done all the experimentation, research, built a pipeline, then you can do it on Hadoop.
Yeah, I think here is a final question that we are taking.
Right.
A lot of people use techniques like survival analysis and Fox regression for churn prediction. How do you think these compare to the traditional machine learning methods?
Again, Sahil, I would say it will be situation specific. And from my experience is concerned, algorithms doesn't make a lot of impact in the case of your churn prediction problem. It's always about the feature engineering, identifying right features, combinations of different features, your customers, behavior and all. So if you are identifying right features, then your algorithms will be doing the 20%, 30% of number crunching only. So that's my personal belief. Again, if you are Which algorithm at which data set? It's a big question. Every one of you know. There's no explanations for it actually. Right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Neeraj, just a moment. One, I think. We have a few more slides. I think you have to speak on some things. This is something you plan to speak on about EdisonX.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the Prithvi. I was just getting there.
Yeah.
So basically, the idea of conducting a session like this, is to help the ecosystem cross-skill and upskill themselves. I think Prithvi will be generous enough to have more sessions with us. I'm very sure about it, Prithvi. I'm just taking you for granted. Don't mind that.
Okay, I'm always happy to.
Yeah, but the idea, guys, is to help you with such sessions from diverse topics, and then we'll also follow it up with good courses that you can always fall back on. Prithvi's details will also be shared with your email in case you want to get in touch with with him. Feel free to do so. I think he has been a passionate teacher. If I have to say him in one word, he has got number of research papers published. He has got number of mentions or citations. I know people publish research papers, but citations are equally important. So he has got at least few dozen citations, to say the least. I think, thank you, Prithvi. It was very kind of you to go through each data, the problems you encountered, and the strategies you followed, and sharing your insights was really helpful. I think it's a good starting point for someone who is new into data science.
Right.
It's all about using data in the organization to such an extent that we either optimize cost or maximize revenue. End of the day, these are two simple problems that we are talking about.
Right.
We're just going to have more of these sessions coming. We'll also have a follow-up email sent to all of you guys in terms of the courses that you need to fall back to. And Prithvi's email ID I'm going to share. Sorry about it, Prithvi, if people can...
no, I have already shared it.
Yeah, I think we'll also put it in email as well, so that people don't miss out.
Right.
So few questions might come your way, but I'm sure you'll find it exciting enough. Looking forward to the next session. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot for your time. You will also have access to this recording. You can always log into EdisonX Academy, and some of you who might not got an opportunity to view this session, you can always go back and see this session. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for all the years.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.